world that is pristine, but there's a lot in between that is not. So there has been human intervention at a variety of levels, and as you said, maybe in the deep sea, maybe in the high mountains, in these few patches of forest, there's no human intervention. Everywhere else, people are working with the natural environment, with the natural, with whatever the natural, geography is, to create a landscape that they can live in, that they can work in. And that's what we call a cultural landscape, because whenever humans interact with nature, there is some kind of a cultural value which they are applying to it. It's not, when people are making a choice. So if you take a garden, you could make a garden completely in the Mughal garden type, which had, the char bagh. It had very orthogonal lines and divisions, and it was landscaped to be in that way. And the planting was very defined, what kind of water channels there would be, how the water would flow, what type of plants there would be. And then you have the Renaissance gardens with the kind of mazes that were through it, or the steps. So they are both gardens, but they are designed very differently based on the type of values and perceptions of what nature and beauty in nature should be. So those are the cultural values that are informing how people interact with nature. To what extent should that land be flattened? To what extent should it remain as a rocky sort of landscape? Because you have rock gardens, for instance, where people believe that rock and the nature, the way it was, the topography should show through. So those are all values. Similarly with farming. You have places where they do slash and burn. Have you come across this idea of slash and burn? This is one way of dealing with the land. It's one approach to managing land. Then there are other places where they never do that. So it is a sort of, their cultural value, their knowledge that is being passed on from generation to generation, that is helping to form that land and use it in a way that they can work. So whether it is creating a type of building form or creating a certain type of art product, they are interacting with nature physically in different ways based on cultural values. There is another way we can think about cultural landscape, which is purely association, which has to do with meanings. So when you think about the meanings, it means, for instance, if you look at the people who live in the lower foothills of the Himalayas, along Sikkim, in that area, there are many people, groups of people who have great deal of, they hold a great deal of significance for each of the mountain peaks that they see. They worship certain type of trees and certain type of mountain slopes, certain peaks. Their whole sort of life in that area is entirely in the Kanchenjunga area, for instance. Their entire life has been governed by this landscape and the meanings that are in it. Their art, their music, their understanding of the world is governed by this relationship. That is another way of thinking about cultural landscape as a place full of meanings. In the same way in Africa we find, as well as in the Maori landscape in Australia, we find that there are many places that don't have actually physically, forms that you can say identifiable forms that are very special, but they are full of meanings for people. They understand, just the way the land lies. There's just one rock, one flat area that holds a lot of meaning for them, that tells them stories, that tells them about routes which have been taken, about animals that were there, whatever stories that they have been handed down over the generations. So they're full of meanings. So how do you then work with those meanings, and those meanings weave themselves into their artistic expressions, whether it is music or dance or storytelling or So how do you then work with those understandings of nature in whatever way we develop, design obliterate these relationships in the way we undertake interventions, or you can nurture them in a positive way. Those are the choices in a sense when you undertake intervention in these places. So to be able to understand those relationships so that we can enhance them and work with them positively is a huge challenge. And you find that in majority of cases, because it takes so much effort to understand these very subtle relationships, most of the time they get obliterated, and because of that causes a lot of problems. I'll tell you a little bit about some of them